Breaking F-16's just scrambled major security alert by Cat Stevens for freedomdaily.com. There is so much that would disrupt the stability of a nation, like having its leader taken out. We know that other nations know that, and the president's domestic adversaries certainly know it. Every president has enemies, but this one seems to have an especially large amount of people who would like to do him harm. Knowing this makes the job of the Secret Service and those tasked to protect him that much more difficult. Protecting a sitting president is always a hard job, but with this president, the attacks and the threats are even more plentiful than with other presidents. For some reason, those whose candidate lost last November seem to think their loss entitles them to do anything they wish in retaliation, which means that President Trump and his family are constantly under attack, and that is only covering domestic attacks. That's not even mentioning the violent plans that ISIS has for the president and his entire family. All of these threats and more make any breach in security protocol a huge deal for the presidential security detail. Every single threat must be taken seriously, which is why when the president travels to Florida for the holiday, his travel plans were interrupted by a threatening aircraft. There were no risks taken. The Daily Mail reports that fighter jets were sent to check out the situation as soon as the aircraft was found. Two F-16 fighter jets intercepted a private plane that was flying in airspace prohibited by President Donald Trump's visit to Florida. The fighter jets from Homeland Air Reserve Base were already patrolling the area near Trump Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach, Florida on New Year's Eve when they were alerted that a plane had violated airspace restrictions, a North American Aerospace Defense Command spokesman said. Officials said the plane was some 29 miles north of Palm Beach when the intercept occurred at 4:24 p.m. on Sunday. The pilot told officials that he was unaware of the restrictions, NORAD said. Stumbling into restricted airspace might not seem like too big a deal for most of us. After all, who among us hasn't lost their way trying to find a friend's house and ended up in a completely familiar part of town? I would assume unfamiliar part of town. However, when it comes to air travel, it's just not that simple. Not only are there layers of security and communication channels to help one avoid a mishap of this sort, the extra security that follows the president is even stricter than on every other day of the week. Private air traffic is prohibited within 10 nautical miles of Palm Beach International Airport when Trump is visiting Mar-a-Lago, his so-called winter White House. Additional flight restrictions apply within a 30 nautical mile range of the airport, which is just over 2 miles from Mar-a-Lago. Residents told the Palm Beach Post that they heard the fighter jet's loud engines overhead late Sunday afternoon. The jets with the 482nd Fighter Wing escorted the plane to the North Palm Beach County General Aviation Airport. The Federal Aviation Administration will determine whether the pilot should be fined. Over the holidays, Trump spent a week filled with golf and family time at Mar-a-Lago, culminating with the lavish New Year's Eve party. Party guests gathered in the club's ballroom, including senior House advisors Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, Trump's son Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., as well as Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump and son Barron, a tuxedoed Trump spoke to reporters as he entered the gilded ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. He said the stock market will continue to rise in 2018 and that companies are going to continue to come into the U.S. The president's presence at his home in Florida has been widely publicized. Both the left and the right seem to think his stays in Florida are a victory. The left want to call him a snob for going to one of his own homes instead of a traditional presidential vacation spot. Conservatives take it as a nod to the fact that he's not putting taxpayers out to go to a special resort, just back to his own home, spending his own money to eat and relax. It's also a great reminder that he's not in this for the monetary benefit, because he didn't need the money. He's only in office for the benefit of the nation. That's why they can't stand him. However, this particular disruption was especially troubling because of the recent escalation of threats that have come from the ever controversial North Korea. When he was asked for his reaction to North Korea leader Kim Jong-un's remarks about having a nuclear button on his desk, Trump responded by saying, "We'll see." Trump returned to Washington, D.C. at 4 p.m. on Monday, and the temporary flight restriction was lifted at 5 p.m. The FAA usually issues flight restrictions several days before Trump visits Mar-a-Lago and urges pilots to check back frequently for updates. If we've learned one thing from this incident, it's that anyone who wants to threaten the president is going to have to go through some pretty impressive fighters to get there. The danger will live on because as long as there is a president, somebody will want to take them out. But in this case, the crisis was averted, but it serves as a reminder of the dangers that the president faces every day. Thankfully, the president can go on serving. Yeah, they have to take precautions for sure, and it is, it is quite, disturbing to be in fear. I mean, I don't know how he does it and why he did it, because he certainly didn't need the money, and he certainly didn't need the headache, but he cared for America. That's why he he wanted to run for office, because he saw what a mess Obama made, and the Democrats were going to take this country down. And meanwhile, he has his properties, his children that he wants to leave things to. He's saying, I worked all my life to, to have nothing in the end to give to my kids. I understand. He's put a lot of work into it, and he cares for this country. That's basically the bottom line, because if it was me, I would not want this headache, that headache that he signed up for. I give him a lot of credit for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and again, thank you so much for watching.